Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanansari Yamuna Tira Vanansari Jaya Radha Madhava Kund Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kund Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande. Jai Vishupad Paramahamsa. Vrivrajakachaja Stotra Satta. Shrimad His Divine Grace. Shirabai Charanarvin Bhakti Raghava Swami Sri Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Skandi Viti, founder Sharia's Divine Grace Sri Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki. Samavata Bhakta Vrinda ki. Harinam Sankirtan ki. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Nithai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada ki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksurindritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakanditam Sya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kantana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpa Tribhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Narayanam namaskritya Dharam chaiva narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayashabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhakti Bhaviti Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nisreya Sayalokasya Dhanyam Swasayanam Mahat. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyai Namaha Om Sarabhyai Namaha Om Sarabhyai Namaha Mukham karoti vasaram pangum langayate girim yadkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yadkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. We are continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 12, entitled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. Yes. And text number 5. Sampadaha Kratavo Loka Mahishi Bhrattaro Mahi
Mahi
Jambudvipadhipatyam
Jambudipadipatyam
Cha
Cha
Yashas
Yashas
Cha
Cha
Tri
Tri
Divam
Divam
Gatam
Gatam
Sampada Kratavoloka
Sampada Katravo Loka
Mahishi Bhrattaro Mahi
Mahisi Bhataro Mahi
Jambudvipadhipatyam Cha
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Yasascha Tri Divam Gatam
Yasascha Trividam Gatam
Sampada Kratavo Loka
Samprada Kratavo Loka
Mahishi Bhrattaro Mahi
Mahisi Bhataro Mahi
Jambudvipadhipatyam Cha
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Yashashatri Divam Gatam
Yasascha Trividam Gatam
Sampada Kratavo Loka
Samprada Kratavo Loka
Mahishi Bhrattaro Mahi
Mahisi Bhataro Mahi
Jambudvipadhipatyam Cha
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Yashashatri Divam Gatam
Yasascha Trividam Gatam Sampada Kratavo Loka
Sampada Kritavo Loka
Mahisi Bhataro Mahi
Mahishi Brataro Mahi
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Yasasra Cha Trividam Gatam
Yasascha Trivam Gatam Sampado Kratavo Loka
Sampadam Kratavo Loka
Mahishi Brataro Mahi
Mahisi Bhataro Mahi
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Yasascha Tridivam Gata
Yasascha Trividam Gatam
Sampada Katava Loka
Sampadam Kratavo Loka
Mahisi Bhataro Mahi
Mahisi Bhataro Mahi
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Yashaccha Trividam Gatim
Yasascha Trividam Gatam
Sampada Kratavo Loka
Sampadam Kratavo Loka
Mahishi Brataro Mahi
Mahisi Bhataro Mahi
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Jambudipadipatyam Cha
Yasascha Tridivam Gatam
Yasascha Trividam Gatam
Sampada
Sampada
Opulence
Opulence
Kratavaha
Kartava
Sacrifices
Sacrifices
Lokaha
Lokaha
Future Destination
Future Destination
Mahishi
Mahisi
the Queens
The Queens
Bhrattaraha
Bhatara
the Brothers
The Brothers
Mahi
Mahi
the Earth
The Earth
Jambudvip
Jambudip
the globe or planet of our residence
The globe or planet of our residence
Adipatyam
Adipatyam
sovereignty
Sovereignty
Cha
Cha
also
Also
Yashaha
Yashaha
fame
Fame
Cha
Cha
and
and
Tridivam
Tridivam
celestial planets
Celestial planets
Gatam
Gatam
spread over.
Spread over
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai
News even reached the celestial planets about Maharaj Yudhishthira's worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination, his queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth, and his fame, etc. Kindly repeat after me. The news even reached the celestial planets
The celestial planets
about Maharaj Yudhishthira's worldly possessions,
Lord Maharaja Yudhishthira worldly possessions,
the sacrifices by which
the sacrifices by which
he would attain a better destination,
he will attain a better destination,
his queen,
his queen,
his stalwart brothers,
his stalwart brothers,
his extensive land,
his extensive land,
his sovereignty over the planet Earth,
his sovereignty over the planet Earth,
and his fame,
and his fame,
etc.
etc.
Purport. Only a rich and great man's name and fame are known all over the world. And the name and fame of Maharaj Yudhishthira reached the higher planets because of his good administration, worldly possessions, glorious wife Draupadi, the strength of his brothers Bhima and Arjuna, and his solid sovereign power over the world, known as Jambudvip. Here the word lok is significant. There are different lokas or higher planets scattered all over the sky, both material and spiritual. A person can reach them by dint of his work in the present life, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:25. No forceful entrance is allowed there. The tiny material scientists and engineers who have discovered vehicles to travel over a few thousand miles in outer space will not be allowed entrance. That is not the way to reach the better planets. One must qualify himself to enter into such happy planets by sacrifice and service. Those who are sinful in every step of life can expect only to be degraded into animal life, to suffer more and more the pangs of material existence. And this is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita 16:19. Maharaj Yudhishthira's good sacrifices and qualifications were so lofty and virtuous that even the residents of the higher celestial planets were already prepared to receive him as one of them. Translation again. A news even reached the celestial planets about Maharaj Yudhishthira's worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination. His queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth, and his fame, etc. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, his exalted position is being referred to here, because he was, in all respects, ideal king, ideal monarch, surrounded with immense opulence, king. King means actually it has to have opulence. Uh, in order to be to be strong, in order to give proper care and protection, is something that is less understood by people in general than even by devotees. Very often, that when we accept to to live according to what is enjoined in Shastra, just like the residents of Vrindavan, they're following the Vedic um, simple life of village village life, which is based on the Vedic recommended science um, of economy, means cows, land, simple lifestyle connected with nature, and they are opulent. They became opulent. When same description we find also during the reign of Lord Ramachandra, is opulence. Opulence, both in terms of spiritual awakening, a higher level of consciousness on the part of the prajas, the citizens, and and also their material necessities are easily being met as well. So that means when we actually understand how to interact, how to properly utilize, mm, how to live in harmony with the natural resources of nature, as opposed to exploiting. Mm. We exploit actually for our own selfish, mm, to satisfy our own selfish desires, and that is the ongoing situation since last 2 centuries practically, and the end result of that is practically the very true statement is continues to be true that the rich are becoming more and more rich and the poor are becoming more and more poor. The gap between the rich and the poor is increasingly more and more, which is uh, a sure sign of that it is not proper, a sign that we're not living properly. So here it mentions how Yudhishthira Maharaj, some of the symptoms of a qualified king, of a successful king. He had a lot of land. Uh, Having a large quantity of land is a sign of well, is opulence. Land in itself is opulence, and it was one of the foremost duties and responsibilities actually to whatever land they were meant to acquire or whatever land they would inherit, they would properly utilize that land. Also, sacrifices. It mentioned here how he would perform. The performance of sacrifice is one of the important activities. Kings are meant to, they would arrange actually different types of yagyas. Prabhupada explains how the kind of yagyas that used to be arranged, means fire yagyas, which require a lot of grains and a lot of ghee, is just not possible today. But the yagya, there is another yagya, that is a Sankirtan yagya. Governments used to organize these other kinds of homas or yagyas, fire sacrifices. It means it is meant to be the responsibility of kings to organize yagyas. That means that in Kali Yuga, at this point, it's the responsibility of the kings to actually support the Sankirtan Yagya. Just like, actually today, there was a request or an appeal, which I just shared yesterday evening. Maybe devotees have not seen it. Because of the critical situation in like Bangladesh, with our devotees and minorities in general. So there's a worldwide kind of appeal for prayers today in all of our ISKCON temples, all the devotees worldwide, like for the whole day, whatever activities we're performing, like now we're having Srimad Bhagavatam class. So whatever activities we're doing, and in different places, they will be organizing Harinam also, either in the temple or outside, because prayer is actually very powerful. It's one of the angas that is part of bhakti devotional service. Prayers for the protection of devotees. So Kali Yuga, most important prayer and yagya is of course the Sankirtan yagya, which is meant to be manifest on in different ways on different fronts, which includes not only the chanting of the holy name, but also, distribution, book distribution. And this month, of course, as we mentioned earlier, is Gita Jayanti. Hare Krishna. 1st of December, 11th. Gita Jayanti, right? Yeah, okay. Not 14th, 11th. 11th Gita Jayanti. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj inherited all the lands. So many kingdoms were, so many other kings were subordinate to him. He performed yajnas, sacrifices, and he had very qualified queen in Draupadi. Of course, she was the queen for all the five Pandavas. And he had, Bhim, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadev, who were like his aide de camp, you see, like his right hand people. So a king needs to have. They were listing the seven aspects or the seven constituents that are needed in a kingdom. And the two most important, beginning, are a qualified king. Yudhishthira Maharaj was qualified king, and also a qualified minister. Ministers who are able to execute the orders of the king. So he had especially the family members, his brothers, all exalted personalities as well. The land, as we mentioned, also. So all the information is actually there in the Shastra as to how one should rule a community, or how one should rule a country. and by doing so, well, here it mentions that such a personality becomes famous. He attracts the attention of the Lord by following all of the various injunctions that are given in the Shastra. He automatically becomes famous throughout the land. And what is being underlined here, of course, is that he becomes so famous that even the demigods come to know about it, and want to. That used to be kind of standard. There were interactions between demigods and some of the more say advanced or famous personalities, kings, very often. So this is being pointed out as well, that his fame was so great that it attracted the attention of the demigods. And of course, Maharaj Yudhisthira, being a pure devotee of the Lord, being a a pure Vaishnava, so he performed so many activities whereby his prajas, citizens, were given such opportunity to also basically make advancement in spiritual life. So the whole goal and purpose of life is to make spiritual progress, and so that means that when we follow the injunctions that are there in the Shastra, when we are dharmic, when we have properly, like the Pandavas, they had all gone to Gurukul for a number of years. I don't know how many years, but a good number of years. Normally that was described when they were quite young, and then they were like grown men actually when they came out. Usually age of 20, 25, just like yesterday discussing. One is meant to go to Gurukul. But maybe Kshatriya is not as long as Brahmanas, but still. So those years of formation means formation. These years of training, in French, training means formation. Very much, yeah, transformed. When it's just like, who's telling, when one goes to the army, if one, like in Israel, they have because of their situation there, they have military training for both boys and girls, actually, men and women. And anyone who has had the opportunity to get such kind of training becomes quite one of the main factors. One becomes very disciplined, and discipline is is connected with the pillars of dharma. Discipline is connected with which pillar of dharma? Yes, tapa, tapasya. Satyam, daya, tapa, saucham. Yeah, tapasya, austerity. So austerity is human life. We know from Shastra Tapasya brahmacharina samena cha damena cha. That is meant to be the strength actually of brahmacharis, and that is meant to be the main feature in the human form of life. Human form of life is actually meant to perform tapasya. What tapasya we perform before coming to the human form of life? In all the other species, we're just by instinct, just basically engaged in sense gratification. We don't, animals don't perform tapasya. They have no concept of what is tapasya. But it's only when we attain the human form of life that we not only we can, but the human form of life is meant for the purpose of performing tapasya. And if we don't, then we end up what I think yesterday, the day before, Prabhupada speaking about higher and lower animals in society. We become animals by not developing higher consciousness, because animals are those living entities who, being embodied in an animal body, are having lower consciousness. Isn't it? So when we behave in a similar way as animals do, simply being on the bodily platform without taking opportunity, then we are also having lower consciousness, animal consciousness. So therefore, the necessity of training individuals who ultimately are of the caliber of personalities like Yudhishthira Maharaj and his brothers. I mean, the whole Bhagavatam is full of examples, very exemplary kings who ruled based on the principles of dharma. So dharma is again, there's a verse that explains that if one does not follow dharma, then it is like animal society. So any society which is not accepting the basic principles of religiosity, which means dharma, then to that extent is animalistic in nature. And therefore, what do animals do? Being on the body platform, they fight, isn't it? They're in constant competition with one another, and it makes for a very hellish type of situation. So this is what is being described here. Maharaj Yudhishthir's good sacrifices and qualifications were so lofty and virtuous that even the residents of the higher celestial planets were already prepared to receive him as one of them. So one becomes, that's why it's explained how those who are devotees, they're like devatas. The divine Bhagavad Gita, one chapter describing the divine and the demoniac. The divine means deva. So devotees are like devas, actually. Okay, we can continue to the next verse, unless there's some question. Yeah.
Prabhupada sometimes mentions that when there was monarchy in the
Yes.
previous ages, all the land was owned by the king.
Yes.
And nobody owns
Yes.
any land.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes. If Prabhupada mentioned, it's true, no? and yes, it is. And so, question being that when there was monarchy, all the land was owned by the monarch. All the land. Nobody had any. Yes. So correct. There was no what is called private ownership.
But then how can they, who will get, they can just, how can they grow and I don't know.
How can things happen? This question will come, of course, because we are caught up in the unnatural system of private ownership, which is caused and is causing. It's like today, to grow potatoes, you can't. Land is just like so expensive. So this is a very it's a good question. How was land, you could say, distributed? That was one of the topics that Leader Chaitanya addressed, actually. The king, this part of the Vedic culture, he, along with various, through ministers and appointed persons, he would distribute land to, to the common people, distribute in terms of, okay, you can utilize this land here, and you and your future generation can continue to use this land as long as you are properly utilizing that land and giving some percentage of your production. If no production is there some year due to drought or whatever, then you don't give. So the land, because ultimately the land belongs to Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna, isn't it? And land actually would generally be, land is actually under the care of brahmanas. You see, previously, the deities, land actually is meant to belong to the deities. And then the brahmanas, they they allow kings to administer the land that is meant to belong to the deities. So brahmanas, they don't have time to look after the land and protect the land. That's the business of the kshatriyas. And so the kshatriyas, this is the special feature of Vedic culture. Kshatriyas, Vedic kings, Vedic leaders, they know that actually the best way to engage people is through agriculture and cow care. The best means of livelihood, the best way to actually become opulent is by properly utilizing land. And land cannot be properly utilized unless you have cows and bulls. That's the system. That's the Vedic system. That is the most scientific and sustainable system. Some of the purports, the majority of householders are meant to be engaged in agriculture-related activities. Not necessarily that everyone is behind a plow in the field. Most people don't really see themselves in that position. But when there is proper training and education, which is not happening today, then people don't know and are not trained also for what is meant to be the more simple, natural activity, profession, occupation, prescribed duty. This is actually a prescribed duty. This falls in the category of prescribed duty. And therefore we don't buy land. The land actually is one of the items that is not meant to be sold. It is not a commodity to be sold. Food is also not a commodity to be sold. Cows are also not a commodity to be sold. Milk is also not meant to be sold. And knowledge is also not meant to be sold. We don't charge money for attending Bhagavatam class. And the Brahmanas don't give, don't have fees for someone to receive knowledge. But the Brahmanas will decide who is qualified to receive knowledge or not. So it's a whole other way of thinking. It's the right way of thinking. Now we have the wrong way of thinking. And therefore we're puzzled as to, well, how did it work before? Well, before, just look at the description here. Yudhisthira Maharaj is a qualified king. He has immense land. He has qualified people helping him. His 4 brothers who are most qualified, they were acting as his ministers actually. And he has the most qualified wife in Draupadi, who is actually the wife for all the 5 Pandavas. And and the citizens are happy under his kingdom, which is based on the principles of dharma. And he's so famous and well known that this is the point being explained here, that the the demigods are know about his activities. So this is what we are meant to learn. We're not just meant to learn about what's going on in the spiritual world, We're meant to learn what's also is meant to go on here in the material world, based on the principles of dharma. And therefore, those descriptions are given in the Shastra, how to organize society, how to disperse, how to make land available. Now, it's like practically impossible to get land nowadays, isn't it? And that's one of the reasons also devotees are giving, that, well, that may be the Vedic culture, but nowadays it's like impossible. And it's a major challenge, definitely. It's a major challenge, because although some of our devotees, I would say gradually more and more of our devotees are understanding that actually, yes, the more we hear, the more we begin to understand, especially if we read what is described in the Shastra, that what is meant to be the natural occupation for the vast majority of people, which means the vast majority of householders, is agriculture-related, land-related, cow-related activities. So this will only be possible, and this will only be understood when we have devotees who agree to take the training that the Prabhupada was urging us again and again to introduce these basic principles of the Vedic culture through education, through training and education. So if we are not properly developing our Gurukul system, if we're not properly establishing Varnashram colleges, then who's going to get the training? We'll never come to know. We'll hear about it a little bit here and there, but we'll never have people who will actually be trained to actually make this a reality. And therefore, devotees will lose faith and will go elsewhere. We're not doing what Prabhupada is telling us to do. And we've been stubbornly avoiding doing that for decades. And what's the end result? Well, we have devotees who are totally untrained in terms of what is meant to be the Vedic way of living, Vedic lifestyle, growing our own food, living in the community with devotees, depending on, Prabhupada would explain, learning to live, on the lap of nature, on the lap of material nature. Being satisfied with the minimum, being satisfied with whatever Krishna, easily arranges. That's why those purports in the seventh canto, that whole presentation of Narada Muni in 5 chapters, chapter 11 to 15, Prabhupada writes very powerful purports, and many of those directions or directives are to householders. That Jeev Jago, wake up. This is what you're supposed to do as a householder, not just to be caught up in what modern day society, misdirected society, which has given us and formulated all of these unnatural occupations and professions in modern day society, which at any time, it's already happening, totally unnatural, unreliable, unsustainable as well. And we think, oh, it's okay, that's the way it is. But it's not okay. It is not okay. Yes.
We also heard that some things are very bad. They do not respect Brahmins.
Some things are very bad.
Yes.
There are so many things that are not bad.
No, some kings.
Oh, some kings. Okay. Some kings are very bad. Where? In the Bhagavatam?
No, not in Bhagavatam. In past times, some kings are very bad. In Vedic culture also.
Yes, there were bad kings.
So they did not respect Brahmin. So in that area, how the land is distributed?
How the land is distributed? Well, anyone who is not following the principles that are given in the Shastra. So, in other words, you're asking, how did bad kings distribute the land? Yeah, probably not the right way, right? Probably, anyone who is not respecting the guidelines that are given in the Shastra, then he will introduce his own systems and whatnot. I mean, the whole situation is described in the example of King Vena, right? King Vena, he stopped the yagyas, he stopped the activities of brahmanas, and he, I don't know, so all kinds of bad activities that he performed, which made the situation totally unacceptable and hellish for the common people, to the point that the brahmanas had to make a decision and have a special meeting, and this person has to go.
And if the king is changed, then how? I mean, that means the kings told me that this land is yours, okay? And if the king is changed,
For a bad king.
no bad king or good king.
No, no.
In this land,
No, the system is there. If the king is changed, then the same principles continue.
this land is mine.
Not mine. Nothing is mine.
For some time, for any purpose.
Even nothing is ours. No, means the system, the same. A new king who is dharmic will also respect that. Okay, this land has been utilized by this family for so many years, so they will continue, because the king, he gets opulence. His opulence is from having more and more people having land and producing food and having cows, etc., like that, isn't it? That is the primary means of of opulence, of material opulence, in a kingdom, actually, cows and land. but but that has to be learned properly. Nowadays, it is completely forgotten. We're just, automatically just read the descriptions that are there in either the Krishna book or the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. The cows in Vrindavan were so opulent, not opulent, well, they were opulent, but they were so healthy that the milk was dripping from their udder, isn't it? The land was being wet, made wet by milk. When the land is being made wet by milk, it becomes very soft and very powerful, very, very potent. And you can just that land, therefore you don't need to have modern day kind of plows, especially tractors that are totally destructive of the land. You have a wooden plow, like Balaram's. Balaram's plow is a wooden plow, and it just scratches the surface of the land where you put your seeds. You don't have to. So there's the minimum disturbance to the land. These are not fairy tales. Those descriptions are factual, and we see there are examples of this also even in modern day society, where people who know how to interact with the land and provide proper source of water, etc., like that. From a desert, you can convert that land into very rich and productive land, and this is very much needed in our modern day situation, where because of our malpractices in the last so many decades, actually since the last century, we have a major problem that is there also, especially here in India, what is called desertification, land having become desert-like. And therefore, when you pick up a handful of soil, healthy soil, there are more living entities in that handful of soil than there is the population of the world. Billions of living entities are in one handful of healthy soil. But now in most places, if you pick that up, it'll just, it's like sand, practically. Lifeless. Yeah. So who has created this? The malpractices, isn't it? Adharmic practices have created the kind of global crisis that we find ourselves we are not able to produce a proper food. We're not able to produce healthy food because we have destroyed the soil. You can follow up, actually. There's one important book, that is giving more information about land, how to organize land, how to establish villages, and how to distribute land. It's called the Kautilya Arthashastra, Chanakya Pandit, Kautilya Arthashastra. And I'm sure there are other literatures as well. Yes, okay, well, different kind of sound vibration is starting now. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Sri Prabhupada ki, Gauda ki Manandi.
Hari Hari Bol.